When you're in a hurry and want something warm and satisfying, canned soups can feel like the ideal choice. Just open a can, heat it up, and you've got yourself a meal. Most of us find ourselves in this situation regularly, but is canned soup actually good or bad for you? The answer isn't as simple as good or bad. The health impact of canned soup depends on what's in the can, how often you eat it, and what your specific health concerns are. While some canned soups can be quite nutritious, it's important to pay attention to certain products that might lead to health concerns like inflammation, weight gain, and high blood pressure. Some canned soups may contain high levels of sodium, preservatives, and additives, which can be associated with negative health effects. Critics and defenders of canned soup simplify the debate. Some focus only on sodium, others ignore legitimate concerns. No one sees the complete picture, but what the science has to say about it. Curious to find out? Stay with us until the end to make sure you're getting the most nutrients from this food without putting your health at risk. I bet that after these revelations, you'll never look at a can of soup the same way again. But first, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Do you eat canned soup regularly? Where in the world are you from? After watching the video, leave a comment below so we can get to know you better. The sodium problem. The most legitimate concern about canned soup is sodium content. This isn't just health purists being fussy. It's basic nutritional math. A typical can of soup contains between 800 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium per cup. Since most people eat the entire can, about 2 cups, that's potentially 2,000 milligrams of sodium in one meal. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium daily, with an ideal limit of 1,500 milligrams for most adults. So a single can of soup might use up your entire day's sodium allowance. Why is this a problem? For people with high blood pressure, heart disease, or kidney issues, excess sodium is a particular concern. When your sodium intake is too high, your body retains extra fluid. This increases the volume of blood in your bloodstream, which means more pressure on your artery walls. Over time, this can lead to hypertension, heart disease, and stroke. Even if you don't have these conditions now, consistently high sodium intake increases your risk of developing them. About 1 in 3 American adults has high blood pressure, and many don't know it yet. The sodium issue is real, but it's also addressable. Low sodium versions typically contain 25–30% less sodium than regular varieties. While still high compared to homemade soup, they're a significant improvement. Some brands now offer truly low sodium options with around 360–600 milligrams per serving, which falls within reasonable dietary guidelines. The BPA concern. Until recently, another legitimate concern was BPA, bisphenol A, an industrial chemical used in the linings of many food cans. BPA can leach into food, especially acidic foods like tomato soup. Research has linked BPA exposure to various health effects, including reproductive abnormalities and increased cancer risk in animal studies. Human studies are less conclusive, but concerning enough that many manufacturers have moved away from BPA. Most major soup companies now use BPA-free cans, making this less of an issue than it once was. However, if you're concerned, look for BPA-free labels or choose soups in cartons rather than cans. Nutritional trade-offs. The nutritional value of canned soup varies dramatically depending on the type. Cream-based soups often contain significant saturated fat. A cup of cream of mushroom soup might have 6–7 grams of fat, with most being saturated. But many broth-based soups are in fat and calories while providing vegetables, beans, and sometimes lean protein. A cup of minestrone or lentil soup might deliver 3–5 grams of fiber along with vitamins and minerals. The processing required for canning does diminish some nutrients, particularly water-soluble vitamins like C and B vitamins. High heat processing can reduce these by 30–50%. However, fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, K, and minerals are more heat-stable and generally survive the canning process. In some cases, canning might actually increase nutrient availability. Cooking tomatoes releases more lycopene, a beneficial antioxidant, than you'd get from raw tomatoes. The same process happens in canned tomato soup. The convenience factor. The strongest case for canned soup isn't nutritional, it's practical. In an ideal world, we'd all make homemade soup from scratch using fresh, organic ingredients. In the real world, time constraints exist. For many people, the choice isn't between canned soup and homemade soup. It's between canned soup and something else equally convenient but potentially less nutritious, like fast food or a frozen pizza. When viewed through this lens, many canned soups are actually a reasonable choice. A bean and vegetable soup with moderate sodium is likely healthier than a drive-through burger and fries. There's also the food waste angle. Vegetables spoil quickly. Canned soup can sit in your cabinet for months, ready when you need it. For people who struggle to use fresh produce before it spoils, having some canned options reduces food waste and saves money. Making smarter choices. If you're going to eat canned soup, and most of us will, there are ways to make it a healthier option. Choose wisely. Broth-based soups with beans and vegetables generally offer more nutrition and less fat than cream-based varieties. Look for options with at least 3 grams of fiber per serving. Check sodium levels. Even within the same brand, sodium content can vary widely. Compare labels and choose lower sodium options when possible. Boost the nutrition. Add fresh or frozen vegetables to increase fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Tossing in a handful of spinach, frozen peas, or leftover roasted vegetables significantly improves the nutritional profile while barely affecting preparation time. Dilute when possible. For some soups, adding extra water can reduce the sodium concentration while still tasting good. Balance your day. If you're having high-sodium soup for lunch, make low-sodium choices for your other meals that day. Look for BPA-free cans or cartons if you're concerned about chemical exposure. The homemade alternative. Making your own soup isn't as time-consuming as many people think, especially with modern tools like pressure cookers and slow cookers. The basic process is simple. Saute some aromatic vegetables, onions, carrots, celery. Add broth and your main ingredients and let it simmer. Homemade soup gives you complete control over ingredients. If you use low-sodium broth, add as many vegetables as you like, control the fat content, and avoid additives and preservatives. The time investment is front-loaded. It might take 30-60 minutes to prepare, but most of that is hands-off simmering time. Make a big batch on the weekend, and you'll have soup for days. Portion and freeze some, and you'll have your own convenience soup for later. That said, homemade isn't always an option. That's okay. The perfect shouldn't be the enemy of the good. A commercially prepared soup can still be part of a healthy diet, especially if you choose wisely and perhaps make some modifications. Before we continue, I've got some exciting news to share. If you enjoy our content and want access to exclusive benefits, become a channel member. As a member, you will unlock some amazing perks like early access to new videos, priority replies to your comments, members-only shorts, polls, quizzes, and special emojis and loyalty badges just for you. Just click the join button and be part of this community that values health and well-being. Your support helps us keep bringing high-quality content for you. What science actually says. When you look at the scientific literature, there aren't many studies specifically examining canned soup consumption and health outcomes. Instead, we have to piece together what we know about sodium, processing, and dietary patterns. Population studies consistently show that high-sodium diets are associated with increased blood pressure and cardiovascular risk. One 2014 study in the American Journal of Hypertension found that for every additional 1,000 milligrams of sodium consumed daily, the risk of cardiovascular events increased by 17%. A small but interesting 2011 study in JAMA showed that urinary BPA concentrations were significantly higher when participants consumed canned soup compared to fresh soup for 5 days. This confirmed that BPA from canned lightings does indeed enter the body through food. However, the long-term health implications of this exposure remain unclear, and as mentioned, many manufacturers have moved away from BPA. Regarding overall nutrition, canned soups fall into the broad category of processed foods, but they're on the less processed end of the spectrum compared to many convenience foods. They're certainly not equivalent to ultra-processed foods like candy or chips. From a dietary pattern perspective, soup consumption in general, both canned and homemade, has actually been associated with some positive outcomes. Several studies have found that starting a meal with soup can increase satiety and reduce overall calorie intake during the meal. People who regularly eat soup tend to have lower BMIs and better diet quality than those who don't. Practical considerations. So where does all this leave us when we're staring into our pantry at 7 p.m., wondering if we should open that can of soup? Here's a balanced approach. Canned soup can be part of a healthy diet, especially if you choose wisely and don't rely on it too frequently. Look for options with recognizable ingredients, reasonable sodium levels, ideally under 600 milligrams per serving, and good fiber content. Use canned soup as a base rather than the entire meal. Add fresh or frozen vegetables, leftover chicken or tofu, or a scoop of cooked grains to boost nutrition. If you have specific health concerns like hypertension, Be particularly careful about sodium content or consider homemade alternatives. When you have time, make a big batch of homemade soup and freeze portions for your own convenience soup. Remember that food choices exist in the context of your overall diet. An occasional serving of regular canned soup in an otherwise whole food diet is likely fine. The canned soup in your pantry isn't a villain or a hero, it's just a tool that can be used well or poorly. Understanding its limitations and benefits lets you make choices that balance health with the practical demands of real life. Did you already know the pros and cons of consuming canned soup? Which facts surprised you the most and why? Leave your comment below. If you found this video helpful, please type yes in the comments below. I also encourage you to check out these 2 videos we selected especially for you. Thanks for watching.